Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Horror Happenings. I am your host, Brad Hammerbacker, and today's episode is a continuation of episode 3, titled The Horror of Addiction Part 2. Before we get started, I just want to take a few seconds to thank everyone for the kind words, the text messages, the emails, the Facebook messages, people calling me on the phone. The overall response to part 1 of this episode has been truly amazing, and I never thought in a million years that so many people would take to this episode so quickly and so many people would reach out to me so quickly. And I really want to thank you for that. I asked for that from the beginning to have a lot of interaction with my guests, and I really wanted to have my audience really respond to what I was talking about. And so far, especially with this last episode, you guys have hit a home run with that. So I really want to take the time again to thank you for that, and please keep it up. Uh, wasn't exactly a easy episode to talk about. For those of you that didn't listen to it yet, I kind of went into detail about some of the struggles that I've had and explained a couple things that I've gone through in my life. And I also went into some details about some meetings and things that I went to and stuff like that. So if you haven't checked it out, please go over and check it out. Episode 3, I'm sorry, episode 3, part 1. And I think you'll really enjoy it. I've heard a lot of people saying they're looking forward to part 2, and hopefully I can live up to what everybody's looking forward to here with part 2. The expectation is it's going to be as good as part 1. We'll see. But anyway, um, one of the things that I touched in the last episode was when I went to these meetings and I would hear all these pretty much horror stories of what other people had went through. And one of the things that I forgot to touch on that's very important that I heard in this one meeting, there was a guy there that was addicted to gambling, and he also had a substance abuse problem. Um, he was addicted to, I guess, cocaine, and he had dabbled in heroin, and it was just a lot of things had spiraled out of control for him. So he had a bunch of different things going on at once. But I remember vividly one of the things that he said while we were there was that when he was experiencing whatever it was that day, whether it was his gambling or whether it was him drinking or whether it was the drug he was taking, when he was experiencing that, he was the happiest that he had ever been in his life. I know it's sad for us to hear that, and for people that don't understand it, you think, what, something's really got to be wrong with this guy. Well, I mean, clearly there is. He's an addict. So, you know, the way I've explained it before, when you're addicted to something, you're clearly not thinking straight because this thing has a hold of you. So he said that nothing could make him feel happier than whatever he was doing that day. So if it was, let's just say, for example, if he was gambling and he was in the casino and he was playing the slots, he felt better in that moment than he did when he got married, than he did with the birth of his first child. He even said that sometimes when he was shooting up heroin, that he felt better than he did when he met his wife, when they went on their first date, when, as I said, when his kids were born. There was nothing in his life that could recreate that feeling that he got when he did these things. And then he went on to say that he hated himself. He hated himself not because he became addicted, he hated himself because he knew that he was not strong enough to overcome this addiction. And because of that, he knew that now that he was in recovery, he would never be able to experience those type of feelings again. And that's sad, ladies and gentlemen, that's how he thought. I was sitting there, this was only like my second or third meeting. I was sitting there listening to this guy, and I'm like, you have so much more in life that you could be thinking about enjoying than whatever it is you're addicted to. Like, some of these people, they were just so far gone that the addiction was it. That was all they had. That's all they thought they had. That's the only reason that they existed was to be able to experience that feeling. Now, can you imagine that for a second? You really can't. I mean, unless you have went through it and you've experienced yourself, you really can't. You cannot imagine that because most of us would sit here and say, "Nah, there's no way. There's no way I could ever say that there's something in life more important than my family, or more important than seeing my child born, more important than my kids, seeing my kids' faces on Christmas morning." Most of us wouldn't say that there's anything that could top that, right? Well, when you're in this frame of mind, there's nothing that could top that but experiencing whatever he went through with whatever he was using that day or whatever he was gambling with that day. It's sad. It really is. It really, if you stop and think about it, it's very, very sad. And this guy had been going to these meetings for 8 or 9 years, and he still felt that way. He hated himself because he knew that he couldn't control it. And because he couldn't control it, and he was trying to do the right thing and be in recovery, he knew that he would never experience those feelings again. And according to him, it didn't matter how many good days he had. It didn't matter how many good vacations he went on with his family. It didn't matter how many good Christmas mornings. It didn't matter how much money he made. None of that even came close to making him feel how he felt when he was doing his drugs or he was gambling or he was drinking. So you see, even after he decided that he was going to make a good decision and try to get away from his addictions, he was still struggling. So you see, sometimes it's not enough just to be in recovery. Sometimes it's not enough to just say, well, I'm in recovery. I'm trying. And yes, that's right. You need to be patted on the back. You need to be given credit for that. People need to say, hey, man, you're on the right path. But people also need to remember that that's not enough because you still have those feelings in there. You don't just become a completely changed person because you're not doing the things that you were doing in the past. You still have those feelings of guilt. You still have those negative feelings that you're carrying around with you. They drag you down. That's why the meetings are there, okay? They're a good route. They're a good outlet for you to go to and be able to get some of that out and talk it out. It's not good just to be quiet about it and try to deal with it on your own. Very rarely does that work. Very rarely do you find the person that can deal with that kind of stuff on their own. Look, I'm guilty for these things too, okay? I'm not a very big person on telling my business and, going up to strangers or even to family and friends and going up to them with my problems. I don't like to burden others when things are bothering me, okay? And I'm sure a lot of other people are like that too. They don't like to burden others with their problems. Believe me, people in this world have enough of their own problems, right? So you would think, well, they don't want to deal with mine too, but that's not right, okay? Somebody would definitely want to hear your problem and try to help you than to see you go back down that bad path again or to get worse. We would definitely like to see that. We would definitely like to be able to see if we could help. We would definitely like to be able to say, all right, well, so what? I have to take 5 minutes out of my day to listen to this person. I'd definitely rather see that than to see these people go back in the wrong direction. And this is a very important fact of addiction. People think, okay, well, that person, they went into recovery. All right, good. As long as they keep doing their steps and, doing what they're supposed to be doing, they're going to be fine. Not always the case, folks. You got to consistently stay on them. You got to consistently check on them. Make sure they're okay. Make them talk to you. Do whatever it takes. Call them 50 times a day if you have to. Text them 100 times a day if you'd have to. If you don't, would you rather the alternative? Now, don't get me wrong. Like I say, I'm sure there are some very strong-willed people out there that can probably handle these things on their own without talking to anybody. They can just all of a sudden, poof, they're gone and they move on and they're great. But that's not the majority, folks. That would be definitely the minority of people that could do that. They're few and far between. Excuse me. They're few and far between if they're out there. I've never met any of them. Maybe you have. I haven't. So it's important as family members, as friends, as coworkers, as relatives. It's important to keep checking up on these people, checking in on them, making sure they're okay. Ask questions. Go and visit. Invite them over. These aren't big things I'm asking people to do here. I mean, it's just kind of being a nice person, being someone that cares. Don't just care in the bad times. Care in the good times too. Keep the good times going. That's what it's all about. Keeping them from going backwards. And look, if you're out there and you're struggling, you got to open up too. Okay? There comes a point in life where if you decide that you want to beat this thing and you want to move forward on a positive path, you got to make the first step. You got to be strong. I believe it was Theodore Roosevelt that said, "Believe you can, and you're halfway there." So believe you can. Believe you can, and you will. But you got to stay on the path. And are you going to take hits along the way? Sure. That's life. That is life, ladies and gentlemen. We're all going to have difficult times. We're all going to go through bad things. We're all going to struggle. That is life, unfortunately. But it's not about the struggle. It's not about how many times we fall down. It's about how many times we get back up. People laugh because I remember the Batman Begins movie where young Bruce Wayne falls down the well and he breaks his arm and his father comes and brings him out. And he's scared because he saw the bats down there. And his father says to him, "Why do we fall, Bruce? So that we can learn to pick ourselves back up." You may laugh at it. Yes, it's a cheesy movie quote, but it's true. It has meaning. Life is not easy in general. And it's going to be 1,000 times harder for the person that's trying to get over the addiction. I've already explained to you how much of a hold it has on you. I've already explained how much it takes over your life. It is your life. And the only way to make it better, the only way to move past it, is to move forward, is to try. Like I said, believe you can, and you're halfway there. But you have to start. Okay, I know me. I was scared to death. I knew that I had problems. I knew that I didn't want to feel that way anymore. But there was a lot of times that I didn't do anything about it. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't confide in anyone. I didn't ask for help. And guess what? Even if I'm hurting, the worst I've ever hurt in my life, if I decide that I don't want to show it to the outside world, you would never be able to tell it. And you think I'm the only one that can do that? You think I'm the only one that can control my emotions like that? No. Many of us can. So just because someone tells you, "Yeah, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me," that doesn't mean it's true. There was many a day that I went to sleep and said, "Tomorrow's going to be the day. Tomorrow is going to be the day that I end this cycle. Tomorrow is going to be the day that I can say it's going to be the first day of a better life. And many days I woke up the next morning and all I could worry about was where was I going to get that next dollar to be able to go to the casino. I don't know what it was. I wish I could say that I could put my finger on the exact moment or the exact thing that made me decide to change. If I could find that, I could bottle it up and I could sell it and I could be a millionaire. Because there's so many people out there that are looking for it. But unfortunately, I can't. All I know is that I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed that I would be given some relief. I would suffer each day with who I was, and the only relief that I got was when I went to sleep at night. Thank God you go unconscious when you're asleep, and you don't have to think about these things. Yeah, subconsciously you do, but on a conscious level, you're not actually feeling it, not having to experience all that over and over. So at least for a few hours a night, I would get a little bit of rest. Well, I would get sleep. I don't know if I'd call it rest. Because as soon as I would open my eyes, it'd be the first thing on my mind. Where can I get money to go blow it? And then hating myself for being that way. Is this the life you want to keep living? Is it really worth it to put yourself through this day in and day out? For what? To put something in your arm? To drink something that's going to make you feel better for a couple hours? To play a game that you hope is going to spit some money out to you? Now, I'm not sitting here trying to preach because, like I said, I know how it feels. I know what it does to you. But at some point, you have to fight back. Because if you don't, it's not going to go away on its own. You have to make the first step. You made the choice to get into it, and unfortunately, you got to make the choice to get out of it. And once you make that choice, and once you ask for help, once you go looking for that help, it is there. It's there abundantly. You have to make the move to go and look for it. It is not going to come to you. So you have to ask yourself, how serious are you about this? When you're addicted, that's the question you have to ask. Do I seriously want to get my life back on track? Or do I want to keep going down this path? Now, again, I asked myself that question thousands and thousands of times. And one day, the answer that came back was no. I do not want to be like this anymore. And folks, if it's pride that's stopping you, or fear that people are going to judge you when you finally tell them what it is you're doing, guys, I hate to tell you, but most of them, they know most of it anyway. I mean, our family and friends aren't dumb. They can tell something's not right. They might not know exactly what it is, but they can tell you're not yourself. You're not the person you used to be. They can tell when things are different. People that love you can tell. So I would say, don't worry about that. Don't worry about people judging you, okay? I personally don't care what anybody in this world thinks of me. I really don't. The only person that can judge me is God, and he'll do that when I get up to heaven. Until then, people can have their opinions. They're entitled to them. But I really don't care what they think. What someone thinks isn't going to stop me from doing what I want to do. I told people I wanted to start a podcast. They laughed, said, "Why? What do you think that's going to do? What do you think? You're going to become famous? You're going to be getting your word out there to thousands of people?" Maybe. Maybe not. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for me. And you need to do something for you too. If you're struggling, you're having a problem, do it for you. Yes, do it for your family, do it for your loved ones, your friends, your coworkers, all the people that are important to you. But most importantly, do it for you. This is who it's all about. You. No one is going to do it for you. You have to make that choice. And yes, it'll be scary. Yes, it'll be hard. Yes, there's going to be times that you say, "This sucks. I don't want to go through this. I don't want to go to the meetings. I don't want to go to rehab. I don't want to have to be put on this medicine. I don't want to have to do this. I don't want to have to do that." That is life. Every single avenue of life, you are going to find something that you don't want to do. Sometimes you have to. I've worked plenty of jobs that I absolutely hated. But guess what? I had 2 kids I had to support. So you either work or they go hungry. You work or they don't have a house to live in. Sometimes you have to do things, is my point. Now, where do you go? What avenue do you reach out to? What way do you go when you finally decide that I'm making that choice? I would say talk to someone you love, someone that cares about you. Talk to a friend like I did. Talk to a family member. Talk to a spouse. If it's not easy talking to someone that you know, talk to someone you don't know. If you're listening to this and you don't know me from Adam and you want to talk to someone and need help, reach out through the website, www.thehorrorrub.com. You can leave me a message. I'll respond back to you. Horror Happenings has a Facebook group. Reach out on there. My point is, there are options. Don't just say no one cares. There's nowhere to go. There's nobody to talk to. There's nobody that's going to care or answer me. There is. That is the lie that the addiction is feeding you. So reach out. Do something. There's the Partnership to End Addiction. You can find them at drugfree.org. You can call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration. 1-800-662-HELP. They're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Do something. It is the biggest decision of your life. And you can make it, and one day you can look back and you can be so glad that you did. Do it. Do it for you. There is a better world out there than the addiction world. We as human beings should not have to go through life every day stressed out, worried, scared, upset, feeling like we're alone, carrying around this thing on our back. That's not how it's supposed to be. We should be waking up and enjoying the small things in life. Our children, our happiness, our friends, our family, breathing air, just being alive. So look, I've rambled on now for 26 minutes. You know that I have this 30-minute cutoff. So I'm going to wrap up. But I think there definitely is more to discuss on this subject. I think there definitely is more that I could say. So stay tuned. There might be a part 3. We'll see how you guys feel about that. Thanks for listening to me. Please don't just listen, turn it off, and then never think about it again. This is serious stuff here, folks. If somebody reaches out for help, try to help them. If you can't help them, point them in the right direction. I thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all the people that have went in and listened to this so far. The first part of this episode was at like 85 downloads when I checked the other day, and that's just amazing to me that 85 people actually want to listen to me. But I'm glad. I am really, really glad, and I hope it keeps up. Please share these episodes. Get them out there. It takes 2 seconds to share it on social media, guys. Literally 2 seconds. If it's not your thing, I understand. Share it. It might be somebody else's. Check us out on the website. There's going to be updates on there. Starting a newsletter. Put your email address in. You can register to be a guest. Really going to start moving into that direction and getting some people on here. They're going to talk about some different things. I'm excited with where we're going. Again, I really appreciate you tuning in. And I will talk to you all the next time. Thanks a lot.